Tell me why my man Prince just came back from the grave to put a nail in Diddy coffin.
The first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house.
You're
so
free.
You want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the party.
We know that Prince always warned about powerful images in the industry.
Right.
People who controlled narratives, owned artists, and silenced them. Was Diddy one of them? Yeah, girl.
My publishing contract with Warner Chappell expired, thus emancipating the name I was given before birth. Prince,
So that's when.
from all long-term restrictive documents.
So that's when they took
From all
his name.
long-term restrictive
99,
documents. I had searched deep within my heart and spirit, and I wanted to make a change and move to a new plateau in my life.
You my mans, but get to the
One
point
way
where
in which I did
what
that
this got to
was
do with
change
Diddy?
my dispute with my record label. And
Which
made-
is Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
So it'll sound like Warner.
Yes, we are talking about the same Warner Brothers that was funding Diddy. And he even had a deal that gave the
okay.
record company a 50% stake in his Bad Boy Records label. Under the deal, Warner would market and
that.
handle digital and physical distribution of Bad Boy's catalog
Now it's starting to
releases
make sense.
worldwide. And you know what? The same way Warner was treating Prince and other artists is the same way Diddy was treating artists at Bad Boy Records. Look at Lil Jerome, for instance. When asked
fuck
if
is
it was
Lil
his
Jerome?
choice to leave the label,
Nobody
Jerome
cares.
said, and he warned about the exploitation of artists, the theft of creative ownership, the way the system chews people up and spits them out. He called it modern day slavery. And he called
Sure,
out
makes
labels
sense.
for stealing legacies. And he wanted to drop names. He wasn't just fighting for his own masters, he was trying to shine a light on the entire machine. And he warned that some of the biggest names in the industry were playing God with artists' lives and livelihoods. And with
That's
recent
real.
events shaking the music industry, particularly the growing controversy surrounding Diddy's ongoing
It's a
legal
real
troubles,
thing.
some are beginning to connect the dots. It's even more alarming that Prince knew a few days before his death that it was the end of the road for him. And he even posted a picture of himself which contained a since-deleted message, just when you thought you were safe. In fact, during his final appearance
I
at a
know
party
that.
at Paisley Park, just after his reported treatment and days before his death, Prince reportedly told attendees, wait a few days before you waste any prayers. And just like he had predicted, Prince died at age 57
Shit, I
after
ain't
being
even
found
know all that.
unresponsive at his estate in Minnesota. At the time, health officials determined Prince died of an accidental fentanyl OD after unknowingly taking
Bro,
counterfeit
ain't do
Vicodin
that.
laced with the highly potent synthetic opioid. But even Sheila E. said that never
don't
made
do
sense.
drugs.
There are reports that say that the landing last week was a treatment for some sort of drug overdose, whether
never knew cuz to
prescription
do
or
drugs, though. Am I
illicit. Did
tripping?
you ever have any
I'm tripping,
signs
y'all?
of drug use? Did you ever see any signs of drug use with him lately that would end up in something like this?
No.
Yeah, nah, he don't
So
get
we
that.
ask once
don't
again,
even got
was
fiend
Prince's
eyes.
death just another
even
tragic
got that
end
energy,
to a
like-
brilliant life, or was it something more?
He ain't Rick James, bitch. Like what?
What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. He didn't abuse alcohol.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't know of him abusing drugs.
Fun
he
fact,
worked out,
I had a meeting
you
with
know,
Cuz.
so that
I met,
also
L.A.
really
Reid.
concerned me because it made me think that, wow, so you mean you do all these things to take care of yourself and you die so young?
All right, now we about to get into the actual tape of what Prince said about Diddy in that courtroom from the grave, man. I want to hear what he talking about. They said it's his last words.
The prosecutor turned to face the courtroom and delivered the words that changed everything. What you are about to hear is the final private recording made by Prince Rogers Nelson before his death. The room froze. Journalists stopped typing. A collective intake of breath echoed
deep.
through the space. Prince, the musical genius, the icon, was
Right.
about to speak from beyond the grave.
All right.
Diddy's lead attorney grabbed his client's arm. The color drained from Diddy's face so quickly,
Said that
you
boy
could
turned
almost
on
watch it
ghosts.
happen in real time.
I know y'all
His
seen them
entire
AI
legal
pictures.
team huddled closer,
Shit real.
frantically whispering as the prosecution connected their device to the courtroom audio system. In that moment, before a single note played, the power in the room shifted. Diddy's legal team knew something devastating was coming, and judging by the sudden panic in
Look.
Diddy's eyes, so did he.
The fact that it's coming from the person they announced is like, you know, man, cuz got something on you. You don't know what you about to hear, but you know he might got some dirt on you. Y'all playing on the same side of the fence. You thought he was gone, he back.
What
Yeah,
you're
that makes
about to
sense.
hear was recovered from Prince's private vault, the prosecutor announced, The courtroom erupted into whispers. People leaned forward in their seats. Journalists frantically typed on their phones. This wasn't just any evidence. This was Prince speaking from beyond the grave. The prosecutor explained the recording was made just weeks before Prince's death in 2016. This was never meant to be heard publicly, she said. Prince created this as insurance, documenting what he witnessed firsthand. When Prince's voice first played through the speakers, a woman in the third row actually covered her mouth and cried. It wasn't just the shock of hearing him, it was his tone. Prince sounded worried. His voice was low, almost secretive, completely different from his confident stage persona. I'm making this recording because I don't know who to trust anymore, Prince began. The quality was crystal clear. You could hear him taking deep breaths between sentences. He wasn't singing, he wasn't performing. This was Prince in his most private, unguarded.
Could this be AI though? Like, let's be honest, man. It's hard to know what's real. You feel me? They said it was in a vault, but like, if you really wanted to plant some evidence for a voice, I think the type of stuff we got access to AI-wise, they got some next level stuff. They got some next level AI shit. He got all these tapes. I'm pretty sure Diddy not the only one. Where the other tapes? You might as well indict the whole industry for all that. Like, what we really talking about?
Prince started naming names, specific dates, locations, and at the center of it all was Diddy. Prince described parties at Diddy's homes in the Hamptons and Miami. The exact same parties that 3 previous witnesses had already testified about. I watched Diddy's face as the recording played. Within seconds, his confident expression collapsed. His eyes widened. His lawyer tried whispering something to him, but Diddy just stared straight ahead, completely frozen. Prince's voice grew more urgent as the recording continued. What happens at these parties isn't just wrong, it's criminal, he said. I've seen how they operate. I've seen who's involved. I've seen who gets hurt. Each word seemed to hit Diddy like a physical blow. The power of this recording can't be overstated. Prince wasn't just confirming what prosecutors claimed, he was providing insider verification that nobody could challenge. You can't cross-examine a dead man. You can't intimidate him into changing his story. Prince described a specific party in December 2015.
That's convenient.
He named guests who were there, including 2 celebrities who had previously denied ever attending Diddy's private gatherings. Prince mentioned seeing the usual setup in the private rooms upstairs, describing details that matched exactly what the prosecution had outlined in their opening statements. The courtroom was completely silent except for Prince's voice. Even the judge was leaning forward, listening intently. Court reporters later told me they'd never felt anything like it. The collective shock was almost physical. I tried talking to him about it, Prince said on the recording. I told him this had to stop. He just laughed and said I should mind my own business if I wanted to keep working in this industry. At that exact moment, the prosecutor paused the recording.
You that type boy, you got that type pull, you can get Prince. You could blackball Prince? He said, old nigga, this ain't back in your day, nigga, this is my day.
A single person in that courtroom turned to look at Diddy. His composed facade had completely crumbled. His face was ashen. His hands, which had been perfectly still on the table throughout the trial, were now visibly shaking. His lead attorney placed a yellow legal pad in front of him, presumably to block the jury's view of his reaction. But it was too late. Everyone had seen it. The moment Prince's voice identified him, Diddy's carefully constructed wall of confidence collapsed completely.
You know you became such a big deal back then is ever since my 3rd album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me.
Bro, should have got United Masters.
The companies
I'm not
felt
sponsored.
otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, you know, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. It's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship.
Truly stunned everyone wasn't just Prince's words. It was watching Diddy completely fall apart before our eyes. For 2 solid days, he'd been the picture of control. When accusers pointed fingers directly at him, he remained stone-faced. When damaging photos appeared on screen, he whispered calmly to his attorneys. Not once did he show a crack in his carefully crafted image. But Prince's voice changed everything. As the recording continued after that brief pause, Diddy's transformation was shocking. His attorney placed a hand on Diddy's forearm. Diddy jerked his arm away so violently that water spilled from a glass on the defense table. Several jurors visibly reacted, exchanging glances with each other. The man who built an empire on his cool, collected persona was unraveling in real time. A courtroom sketch artist later told reporters she'd never seen someone's physical demeanor change so dramatically during testimony. Diddy's breathing became heavy and irregular, so obvious that people in the back row could see his shoulders rising and falling rapidly. His eyes darted around the room like he was searching for exits. The judge never took his eyes off Diddy. As an experienced judge who's presided over countless high-profile cases, he clearly recognized the warning signs of someone about to lose control. Diddy shifted in his seat repeatedly, then reached up and loosened his tie with shaking fingers. He leaned over to his legal team and whispered something with such urgency that 3 of his attorneys huddled closer. Prince's voice continued describing a private gathering in Beverly Hills. He mentioned a specific date, March 9, 2016, evidence. The moment Prince said that address, Diddy suddenly stood up, not slowly, not carefully, but abruptly, like someone had pulled him up by invisible strings. 4 security officers immediately moved closer to the defense table. Diddy's legal team grabbed at his suit jacket, trying to pull him back into his seat. Their expressions showed pure panic. One attorney frantically whispered in his ear, while another tried positioning himself between Diddy and the jury box. The recording kept playing. Prince described walking into a room where he witnessed behavior that matched exactly what prosecutors had outlined in their charges against Diddy. His lawyers looked desperate now, practically climbing over each other to calm their client. Then it happened. Diddy completely lost control. That's a lie! He wasn't even there! That never happened.
He wasn't even there.
The judge immediately banged his gavel. Order! Order in this court! He fixed Diddy with a stern glare. Mr. Combs, control yourself or I will hold you in contempt. The courtroom fell silent except for Prince's voice, still playing through the speakers.
He lost it.
The prosecution's strategy became blindingly obvious in that moment. They had deliberately saved this recording, holding it back until Diddy had settled into a false sense of security.
See, that's the thing.
They waited until day 3.
Is they just holding recordings? Because if they got into this man vote, that means that's not the only piece of evidence on somebody that they might be going after. They just loading a clip like, all right, we're going to get him. We're going to get him. As soon as he slip up, we got him. That's the scary part for whoever in the industry and had a relationship with Prince and had some dirt. Bro was a spy for real. That's what it sounded like. It was just spying and collecting information. Bro was the CIA. I ain't saying the people that did wrong, not wrong. They wrong, of course. But the way you play on somebody, like you got receipts from stuff that don't got nothing to do with you. It seemed like, based off of what I just learned, it seemed like bro was trying to be a whistleblower and they probably, you know what I mean, they handled it. But he was trying to attack people at the top. You feel what I'm saying? He ain't had that power.
What came next shocked everyone in that courtroom. Prince hadn't just made vague accusations. He had detailed 3 specific allegations that cut straight to the heart of the case against Diddy. Prince revealed he'd been secretly documenting concerning behavior in the music industry for years.
Bro was on a mission.
I keep everything, his voice explained. Dates, times, who was there, what happened. I've been doing this since 2007. Legal experts in the room exchanged glances. This wasn't just random observations.
That's 9
years.
This
was systematic documentation from one of music's most meticulous minds. The first bombshell came when Prince described parties he attended at Diddy's homes. These aren't just parties, Prince's voice explained. They're calculated events. I watched him separate young artists from their teams, get them alone, and put them in situations they couldn't say no to. Prince named a specific Beverly Hills property and described a room layout that matched floor plans already entered into.
See, it's too convenient, bro. Like, y'all ever see the movies? Y'all ever see that movie, Sorry to Bother You, starring like Keith Stanfield? This movie right here. It was a scene in that movie where he got invited to the higher ups of his like employment, and he went there and it was all this crazy stuff going on, stuff that Cat Williams be talking about with his stand-ups that going on the other side of the industry. People doing stuff with animals and stuff like that. Just stuff like, if you get caught, this how I would envision they trap you. They get you in a situation, they might get you all inebriated, under the influence, and then catch it on cameras. There's already all these cameras set up all around the house. You so want to be famous, you sign you know, whatever you sign before you get in there, and once they get you in that room, get you in that trap, you start doing all this crazy stuff, they catch it on film, now you in a box. It's like, you do what I tell you to do. I'll just tell my folks this too. You don't know what somebody might be locked up in. They get you on camera doing all this crazy stuff, next thing you know, you a puppet. You got to do whatever they tell you or you get exposed. You don't want your family to see you like that, the supporters, the legs to your career. You don't want them to see you like that. So once you get into that situation, you either going to blow your career up or you going to go forward and be like, the upside is I'm famous now. The upside is I got money now. The upside is I can feed my family. You make that decision before you go to these type parties, these places you get invited to. Think you're going to turn your life up and it really turn you into turmoil, man. It's like Get Out. It's really like Get Out. You stuck in something, and if you say something, they could clip you. You really sold your soul, man.
Courtroom was completely silent as Prince continued. He expressed deep concern about how young artists were being manipulated at these industry gatherings. They come in thinking this is their big break, Prince said. By the time they realize what's really happening, they're already trapped. I've seen it happen to at least 7 artists directly. The second allegation focused on a direct confrontation between Prince and Diddy. I approached him at the Grammy after party in 2016, Prince stated. I told him I knew what was happening and it needed to stop.
I'm gonna give y'all a side story, right? Remember earlier in this video, I told y'all I met L.A. Reid, right? I went to L.A., my manager took me to L.A. to see if we could get signed with L.A. Reid. And when I walked in there, when people see you carry a certain type aura, a certain type energy, like you don't look like you gonna go for that, you're not even on the table for consideration, because they need people that they can control. Like if I go in there and I got that type aura that I'm not going for, if I say something go, I'm gonna give y'all a hard time if it don't go the way I foresaw it when I made the idea. You're not even gonna consider me. They're not gonna consider a strong-minded person. They want people that could be manipulated. They want people that are desperate. Go, they willing to do whatever. You can see it in the eyes. It's like, I had hunger for my passion. I ain't have hungry for fame or hungry for attention. And some people go in there knowing they gonna get screwed. They don't care. That's the type of people they want. They want people that be like, yeah, you could do whatever. As long as you give me the fame, I do whatever. That's the type of people they want, because you could put strings on that type person. Or even somebody with a spiritual attachment, you can't really put strings on them, because today they might feel weak or they might feel vulnerable, and then next week they might flip the whole switch and want to tell everybody spiritual, just like Prince. You feel me? That's what bring it full circle. Crazy.
Perhaps most damaging was Prince detailing financial transactions between Diddy and several individuals who were allegedly paid for their silence. Prince mentioned specific amounts, $2 million to one person, $1.3 million to another, that perfectly matched financial records the prosecution had presented earlier in the trial. I've seen the payments, Prince stated. I've seen the NDAs they signed. This isn't just rich people behaving badly. It's systematic and calculated. The precision of Prince's knowledge suggested he had access to information that only an industry insider could know. As the recording continued, Prince's voice grew more somber. I'm making this recording because I'm afraid to speak out publicly. The power structure in this industry protects people like him. Nobody wants to believe what happens behind closed doors.
It's not a clean industry.
The recording ended with words that sent chills through the courtroom. If anything happens to me, make sure this gets to the right people. This isn't just about protecting myself, it's about protecting everyone who hasn't been able to speak up.
See, and that's what I mean. Right there. To put a cap on that, I'm not saying bro wasn't looking towards the future. I'm saying if the government wanted to flip this, they got all the pieces, all the evidence they gathered already to put this into an AI generated voice and make it, get some people in there that know how to make it sound like it was recorded on tape. Make it sound like it was old, make it sound, you feel what I'm saying? They got the resources to make the evidence look how they want it to look. That's what's going to really get scary. I never even thought about that. Just think about the stuff the government could use nowadays. Think about the stuff we can use, AI herself to talk like us, just post videos and stuff like that, and we only got to be in front of the camera. Imagine what the government got access to and how they could just go in the courtroom and do, you feel what I'm saying? Not to say they will, You know what I mean? But just imagine. I'm not saying nobody guilty, nobody not guilty. I'm not saying the video false or true. I'm playing neutral. I'm playing neutral right now. Just hear me out, chat.
Diddy's outburst transformed the entire trial. The moment Prince's recording stopped playing, his legal team jumped into crisis mode. His lead attorney stood up immediately, his voice almost shaking as he addressed the judge. Your Honor, we request a 15-minute recess to consult with our client. The desperation was obvious to everyone watching. The judge didn't even hesitate. Request denied. The court will continue with the presentation of evidence. He shot a stern look directly at Diddy. I expect no further disruptions. Diddy's attorneys looked shocked. They weren't used to being denied. These were lawyers who charge $1,500 an hour and typically get whatever they ask for in court. But today, nothing was going their way. Meanwhile,
It's a public case.
prosecution team couldn't hide their satisfaction. The lead prosecutor maintained a professional expression, but her second chair actually smiled slightly when Diddy shouted. They exchanged a quick glance that said everything. Their trap had worked perfectly. They had planned for this reaction, wanted it, and now they had it on official court record. A legal analyst sitting 2 rows behind me whispered to his colleague, "This is catastrophic for the defense. They've spent 2 days portraying him as calm and innocent. That image just shattered in front of the jury." The judge addressed the jury directly. The outburst you just witnessed should be disregarded in your deliberations. Emotional reactions are not evidence. But every trial attorney knows that once jurors see something, they can't unsee it. 3 jurors were staring directly at Diddy, studying his every move after the outburst. Court security didn't take any chances after Diddy's explosion. 2 additional officers positioned themselves just feet from the defense table. 1 officer stood directly behind Diddy's chair, close enough to reach him in seconds if needed. The rest of the day was brutal for Diddy. The prosecution continued presenting evidence that connected directly to Prince's recording. They showed financial records matching the exact payments Prince had mentioned. They displayed text messages from witnesses describing the same events Prince had detailed. Diddy sat there sweating through his designer suit. His hands trembled so visibly that his attorney passed him a legal pad, presumably to give him something to hold. He declined water when an assistant offered it. By mid-afternoon, he looked physically ill. His facial expression had transformed from confident to cornered. The final blow came just before the court adjourned for the day. Diddy's legal team filed an emergency motion to exclude Prince's recording from evidence, claiming it was potentially manipulated and impossible to authenticate given the witness is deceased.
That's true.
Legal experts in the room immediately recognized this for what it was, a desperate attempt to undo what couldn't be undone. The timing of this motion revealed how truly panicked his defense team had become. Emergency motions are typically filed only when attorneys have no other options left. As everyone filed out of the courtroom, legal analysts were already making bold predictions. This will be the moment people point to when discussing how the case was lost, one prominent TV legal expert told his producer. In a single day, Diddy went from looking like a man fighting false accusations to someone who lost control when confronted with the truth. A veteran court reporter summed it up perfectly. I've covered hundreds of celebrity trials, and I've never seen someone's case collapse so completely in a single moment. Playing that Prince recording on day 3 wasn't
That's the
just
moment I wish
lucky
I was there. I ain't
timing.
gonna hold you. I was in AR Ab trial. Like, it was bad in that joint, like in person. Energy in the room there was crazy. The energy in the room here, probably like, first of all, y'all listening to a ghost. As y'all see a man literally get the chair pulled from under you. Why you lose it? That's the question. You got all these lawyers probably paid like millions of dollars of lawyer fees at this point, and it's like they ain't prep you for all possible outcomes. They was supposed to prep you like you was running for the presidency. Background, your history, who you had beef with, they gotta dive into them too. And whoever you ever threatened in life, I get them too. Like, you threatened Prince, you should have known he was a potential, threat to whatever your future was going with. Oh, now here we are.
Court insiders revealed the prosecution team had this bombshell ready, been planning timing. It was all part of a masterful strategy the prosecution had been planning for months. Court insiders revealed the prosecution team had this bombshell ready from the beginning, but deliberately held it back until Diddy started feeling comfortable in the courtroom. They wanted him relaxed before they dropped it. A source close to the prosecution team told me the first 2 days were about lulling him into a false sense of security. This explains why the prosecution's case seemed somewhat routine during the opening days. They weren't showing their full hand yet. The team spent nearly 4 months authenticating Prince's recording. They brought in 3 separate audio
Well, 4
forensic
months
experts
making it.
to verify it hadn't been altered or manipulated in any way. They knew the defense would immediately challenge its authenticity, so they built an ironclad verification process that would stand up to any scrutiny. What's particularly calculated is how they studied Diddy's previous courtroom behavior. The prosecution team analyzed footage from his past legal appearances and noticed a pattern. Diddy typically maintained perfect control during the first 48 hours of proceedings, but became noticeably less guarded as trials progressed. They literally timed their bombshell to the precise psychological moment when he would be most vulnerable. The prosecution built their case like architects. They started with the foundation, establishing witnesses who could verify locations, dates, and basic facts. Then they added structural elements, financial records, and text messages. All of this was carefully designed so that when Prince's voice finally played, every detail he mentioned would connect to evidence the jury had already seen and accepted. Their presentation wasn't improvised either. A courthouse employee revealed the prosecution team actually rehearsed how they would play the recording multiple times. They practiced the exact moment to pause it, precisely when to look at Diddy, and even rehearsed their poker faces when his inevitable reaction came. What makes this strategy so devastating is how they've established Prince as the perfect witness. He can't be intimidated. He can't be cross-examined. His motives can't be questioned. Prince speaks from beyond with a credibility that no living witness could match. The prosecution's masterstroke was timing this revelation for day 3. When media attention in high-profile cases traditionally begins to wane, cable news typically covers opening statements intensely, then reduces coverage until closing arguments. By dropping their biggest bomb on day 3, they guaranteed renewed media frenzy exactly when public interest might have started fading. This wasn't just about convincing the jury, a veteran legal analyst explained. It was about controlling the public narrative, too. They just ensured this case will dominate headlines again. As court adjourned, the difference between the two legal teams couldn't have been more stark. The prosecution gathered their materials calmly, occasionally sharing satisfied glances. Meanwhile, Diddy's team huddled in obvious distress, some making urgent phone calls, while others frantically flipped through legal text.
What he say? Like how he was with Jada and Fab. I like how you scrambling over there.
I like when you like this, Daddy.
Where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping for shit. I like that. Make a wish.
Meanwhile, Diddy's team huddled in obvious distress, some making urgent phone calls, while others frantically flipped through legal texts. The power balance had shifted completely in the span of minutes. One moment, Diddy was a powerful music mogul fighting allegations. The next, he was a desperate man watching his carefully constructed image crumble under the weight of testimony from a music legend who could speak freely from beyond the grave. As the third day of trial ended, something profound had changed in that courtroom. Prince's voice, clear, specific, and impossible to silence, had done what years of allegations couldn't. It cracked Diddy's carefully maintained facade in front of everyone. The trial resumes tomorrow, but everyone knows nothing will be the same. The ghost of a music legend just delivered the most powerful testimony possible, catching Diddy completely off guard. What's keeping industry insiders up tonight isn't just Diddy's fate. It's what else might be hiding in Prince's private vault. Who else did he name? What other recordings exist that we haven't heard yet?